the older I get, I find that I do less of the things that people tell me I have to do. And I think that's one of our privileges. As the older you get, someone says, hey, you need to do this. And you go, why? I don't think I need to. I'm to that age. In school-age kids, they have to do things. Little Johnny, sit in your seat. Don't hit your friend there. There's consequences. Get your homework in. These are all things that you have to do, or there's consequences. You know, even as you get into the workplace, you have to do certain things. You need to do these things, or compensation's not coming your way. There's things that you have to do. But when you get older, you start thinking, why do I need to do that? Why do I need to do that? So I'll give you some examples. I am told that I must wear fashionable clothes. They're not really comfortable, but I'm told that they make me look better, and I go, why? In 20 years, I'm going to be looked at in this picture, and it's going to say, wow, that was an ugly outfit. Why do I need to wear it? I'm not wearing it. Nobody else has done that? Or is it just my family that tells me this? And you go to, why do I need to go to this meeting where someone's just going to read off an agenda? I can just read the agenda. Why do I need to go to that meeting? I'm not going. Here's another one. Why do I need to go to this social function where I'm just going to be bored to tears and I'm going to feel really uncomfortable? Why do I need to go to that? You know what? I'm not going. And when I get older, I think I have more freedom to do that. And I take advantage of those things. But the problem I have is sometimes I do that with God. And I know everybody's saying, Pastor sometimes says that. Sometimes even pastors take that approach with God, and because God's saying, you need to do these things. And I go, why? Why do I need to do that? Well, even last week I preached the go of reconciliation, and I know that maybe I'm not the only person here. That God brought some people to mind. Man, I know that they have this thing against me. I need to make peace. And in the middle of this, maybe you had the same. You go, God, do you know how mean they were? How mean they still are? That they're ornery. Why do I have to do this? God, I don't know. Maybe I'm just not going to do it. I'm not going. Maybe I'm the only person who thought that way. It's a dangerous thing to say no to God. It's a dangerous thing. Because sooner or later it comes around and there's consequences, unforeseen consequences that come our way when you say no to God. The story of Jonah that we're going to go through is about a guy who said, God, I know you want me to do something. No, I'm not going. And if you've read this story, you know that there's some pain and some heartache and some tough times coming your way when you say, no, God, I'm not going to do this. And for the next 4 weeks, we're going to go through this. And I've never gone through the full book of Jonah before, and I'm excited to do this because, at least for today, we grab a hold of the idea, Jonah is us. I'm Jonah. I can't believe this. Jonah's this guy. No, I'm not Jonah, really. And we have to get to terms of, we're Jonah. Let me read a little bit to you. Let me read the first chapter. Because some of us, we've read it as a kid, and I encourage you to read all 4 chapters. It'll take you 15 minutes. Go home this afternoon, put your phone to the side, or use your phone to actually read something. Let me read a little bit here. The Lord gave this message to Jonah, son of Amittai. Get up and go to the great city of Nineveh. Announce my judgment against it, because I have seen how wicked its people are. But Jonah got up and went the opposite direction to get away from the Lord. He went down to the port of Joppa, where he found a ship leaving for Tarshish. He bought a ticket and went on board, hoping to escape from the Lord by sailing to Tarshish. But the Lord hurled a powerful wind over the sea, causing a violent storm that threatened to break the ship apart. Fearing for their lives, the desperate sailors shouted to their gods for help and threw the cargo overboard to lighten the ship. But all this time, Jonah was sound asleep down in the hold. So the captain went after him. "How can you sleep at a time like this?" he shouted. "Get up and pray to your God. Maybe he will pay attention to us and spare our lives." Then the crew cast lots to see which of them had offended the gods and caused this terrible storm. And when they did this, the lots identified Jonah as the culprit. "Why has this awful storm come down on us?" they demanded. "Who are you? What's your line of work? What country are you from? What is your nationality?" Jonah answered, "I am a Hebrew, and I worship the Lord, the God of heaven, who made the sea and the land." The sailors were terrified when they heard this, for he had already told them he was running away from the Lord. "Oh, why did you do this?" they groaned. And since the storm was getting worse all the time, they asked him, "What should we do to stop this storm?" "Throw me into the sea," Jonah said, "and it will become calm again. I know that this terrible storm is all my fault." Instead, the sailors rowed even harder to get the ship to land, but the stormy sea was too violent for them, and they couldn't make it. When they cried out to the Lord, Jonah's God, "O Lord," they pleaded, "don't make us die for this man's sin, and don't hold us responsible for his death. O Lord, you have sent this storm upon him for your own good reasons." Then the sailors picked Jonah up and threw him into the raging sea, and the storm stopped at once. The sailors were awestruck by the Lord's great power, and they offered him a sacrifice and vowed to serve him. Now the Lord had arranged for a great fish to swallow Jonah, and Jonah was inside the fish for 3 days and 3 nights. That's Jonah's, just the start of the story. Let me give you a quick background on Jonah. Jonah means dove. A dove. Everybody likes a dove. It's a nice white bird. And Amittai, his dad. Amittai means truth. So here's the dove of truth, Jonah. And he's going to Nineveh. Nineveh is the capital city of the Assyrian Empire. And at that time, the Assyrian Empire was one of the most brutal empires that there was. I could go on and give you more history on them, but they were like the Nazis of their time. Just brutal. So God sends the dove of truth to this brutal nation of Assyria. And Jonah says, "What? This is a suicide mission. Why am I going? You know what, God? I'm not going." And he runs away. And we understand running away from God, don't we? We understand it. Why Jonah would go? No way. Just from the idea of self-preservation, you would not go on this suicide mission. Imagine how long a Jew would last in Nazi Germany saying, "Hey, this Nazi regime is wrong. They need to, no way, this is bad. Hitler's bad." How long would he last? How long would a Christian last in modern day Afghanistan if he goes there and says, this is just bad? And you know, there's only one way to God. It's through Jesus. The way, the truth, and the life. How long would they last? You know, it's a suicide mission for Jonah. It's just not good. Self-preservation says, no, don't go. But we also understand it this way, because this was Jonah's idea as well, that God has no taste in whom he loves. He loves all types of people. Even those people, he's going to send this message to warn people that are brutal. Why doesn't God just wipe them out? No, he sends people like Jonah to warn these brutal people. And we say, God, you shouldn't do that. These are bad people. Wipe them out. Don't just warn them. You know, we would say the same, wouldn't we? We would say the same. You know, our God, well, He loves good Christian people that follow the rules and are nice and are respectful to people. Following the rules is great. You know, I'm not sure He likes or even loves totally evil people. He doesn't really love abortion doctors. Oh, does He? You know, He doesn't love drug dealers or pedophiles or white supremacists. You know, I don't know if He loves even people that are anti-vaxxers or people that are hyper-vaxxers. Does He love those types of people? Jonah thought God only loved the Jews. All these other people, those are people. No, God doesn't love them. He only loves us. And He says, I'm not going because I don't want to bring this message of hope to these people. And we run from God for the same reason sometimes. Man, I don't like that person. They don't think the way I do theologically or politically or in any other way. They don't think the way I do. I don't like them. I don't know, does God like them? You know, we run from God sometimes just like right in His face. God, I'm not going to do it. I'm running the other direction. But sometimes we do it this way. We sometimes run from God by just following the rules. Hey, I come to church. I'm nice to people. I smile at people, the evil ones I don't like. I follow the rules, God. I think I'm good. But we have run from that relationship with Him. We're not friends with Him. It's kind of like an acquaintance. God, okay, I'm going to do what you say from a distance. And we run from God. And hopefully we understand that it never works out good when you run from God. Because this is what happens. God sends a storm. And I want to clarify for some people are saying, oh man, every time I'm in a storm, that means I'm running from God. Let me clarify. Sometimes storms come because we live in a broken world. It's just because we live on planet Earth, we're going to feel pain. We're going to feel, some storms in our lives. We're going to have those because of brokenness and corruption of our earth. That's just a reality. But sometimes storms come because of sin in our lives. And we need to grab a hold of that. Sometimes that storm is because we don't want to give up on that sin. No, I want to hold on to that one. Sometimes storms come because we're so fixated on the rules and we forget about this relationship with God. We put Him off to the side. We're just going to do the things we have to do so that people think that we're good Christians. And we forget it's all about a relationship with Him. It's a friendship. Sometimes storms come because we forget. No, it's not that we forget, that we refuse to go. Jonah refused to go. He said, I'm not going. And sometimes a storm comes because God says, no, I want you to go. And our God will always work within that storm to renew that relationship, to get us to do what He's asking us to do. Come on, I want you to do this. I'm not interested in anything else but you doing this. Jesus was in a storm. He's in this boat. It's just like Jonah. And he's in the hold, he's sleeping. And it's the same situation, these sailors come running up to him and say, Jesus, what's going on? Don't you care if we die? Jesus goes, all right, storm, be still. Storm calms down. And He goes, man, where is your faith? Where's your faith in me? In the middle of this storm, it wasn't about the storm, it was about me. Our God works in our storms. because we all have them. And He works within that storm according to His plan. According to His plan to draw us into a deeper relationship with Him, to bring hope to our world. He works within our storms. Hopefully you're not sleeping like Jonah, waiting, like, oh, I'm oblivious to the storm around me, and not even paying attention to what God is trying to do in our lives. The question is, well, it's not a question. It's almost a statement of never waste a storm. When you're in the middle of a storm, sometimes we need to ask, is this just a normal part of life, or is God trying to get my attention? And say, nah, it's about me. Come on, would you talk with me? Will you go where I'm asking you to go? Never waste a storm. Because sometimes it's God trying to get your attention. And the worst part about this, for Jonah at least, and sometimes for us, is that our disobedience to what God is asking us to do has ramifications on other people. When we don't go, other people suffer. Let me just talk about Jonah here. Jonah's asleep. Jonah's asleep on board, and he's just sitting there, sleeping away. He doesn't know that all these other sailors are trying to escape destruction as well. And this fierce storm is getting them to pray to whatever God that they hold dearest. And our God is saying, these puny gods that you're praying to, these puny gods, they are not going to give you any relief. They are not going to save you from this storm. There is no hope for you except in me. That's our God speaking. See, God doesn't want their cargo. They threw all the cargo overboard. He doesn't want your cargo. He doesn't want your stuff. He doesn't want your following all the rules. He wants you. He wanted Jonah to do what He called him to do. He's interested in his man. The captain wakes up Jonah and says, "Who are you? Why don't you just cry out to your God? Maybe your God will save us from this storm." And Jonah says, "I serve Almighty God. He holds the earth and the seas in His hand. He's the God of storms." And the captain scolds them right there. Hopefully you heard it. He scolds them. He goes, "Jonah, why did you do this? You serve the God who holds this entire world in His hands. And you're trying to run from Him. Why are you doing that? What's wrong with you? Why did you do it, Jonah?" And our world scolds us. And we deserve it. Because we don't do what God has called us to do. God He's not worried about anything else. He wants us. And us to do what He's asked us to do. Our communities, when they are filled with crime, and the school systems are disintegrating, and there's drug use, and there's unemployment, it comes back to us. We should not be sleeping while our communities crumble. If it is, then our community suffers as well. What happens in the Heights affects us wherever we live. What happens in Muskegon affects all the other suburbs as well. We need to be active wherever we are. We just can't be sleeping and say, "Oh, you know what? God, we'll just let that go as it goes. I'm just going to sleep here." We have this message of hope. Tangibly, too, we know how to help certain people, whether it's reading in schools or feeding people that are in need, or helping to clothe them, or bringing them to Love Inc. and saying, "This is how I can help lift you out of this," and telling them the good news and telling them the hope that we have. Hopefully we're not sleeping. We get so caught up in so many other things than what God has called us to. We'd rather argue whether someone should be vaccinated or not than going into our community. We'd rather talk politics and just yell at red or blue and then, oh, this is terrible on either side, instead of what God has called us to. And our world looks at us and says, why did you do it? Why are you running from God and saying, no, I'm not going? Why did you do it? We are in the same boat. We are in the same boat as all of this area. We have the same storm, we have the same danger, and we have the same angry God towards sin in our lives. And without Jesus, we all have the same consequence. But we bring Jesus into our storms and in the storm in our community. And that is our hope. You know, Jesus faced another storm. It was in the Garden of Gethsemane. He was in the garden and he had his 3 friends and they were supposed to be praying, but they were sleeping. They were so tired. It was late at night. It was actually early morning. And Jesus' storm was, I see what's ahead of me. I'm going to go and suffer for people that right now don't even know that I'm the hope for the world. God, is there any way around this? And thankfully, Jesus conquered that storm by saying, Father, not my will, but your will be done. And that was Thursday. Thursday night, Friday, he was betrayed. He was turned over to the Romans, and he suffered, and he was brutalized, and he was humiliated, and he died on a Roman cross. And he rose again in 3 days. But our God worked through that storm so that we might have hope. That Jesus faced this storm for us. You know, today, if you're running from God, and you're facing this storm, remember that you are in the same boat as everyone else here. Without Jesus, we're going down. God has called you to be His child, and He's called you to act as His child and to go and make a difference. You know, your friends are asking for the hope that you have inside. Can we tell them? Can we show them? You know, oftentimes God is trying to grab our attention, maybe to bring us back to Him, to renew our relationship with Him, and to renew our desire to go. And when the storms of life come, don't say, I'm not going. Don't say, God, I'm not going. May your prayer be like that of Jesus. Say, Father in heaven, your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Let me pray with you. Jesus, we often forget about your sacrifice for us. We forget about the storms that you have endured for us. We forget how you chose us as your brothers and sisters, your friends, the children of God. Forgive us for running away from you. Forgive us for not doing as you have called us. Forgive us for not showing and telling your good news. Renew your trust, our trust in you this week. Lead us to where you wish us to go, wherever that may be. And we praise your name, God. Amen.